Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Brent with C4F. Hopefully you see the festivity in the office. I'm going for some Christmas vibes, getting very, very excited. We're getting some snow here in Colorado. Ski season is upon us and business is booming, my friends. We're going to dive really deep into sales psychology and what drives human decisions. This isn't going to be like your psychology class in high school or hopefully college. I want this to be interesting and fun. I hope I created a diagram that we're going to walk through. I'm going to show you exactly what drives these decisions that people make and how maybe they're I don't want to say predisposed, but they make decisions based off of learned behaviors typically and how they've been surrounded in their life. And we're going to talk about that and how to tailor your pitch and your sales call to that instead of fighting against it. This is why, guys, my clients in C4F absolutely smash deals left and right. People aren't doing this in the industry. They get a cheap script on Google Docs and they go and they try it and they close at 30 to maybe 50%. And there's a reason that we're closing at 80, 90% across the board, not just one coach, but so many coaches. Enough of me bragging. Guys, if you like the channel, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, send to a friend. It would mean the absolute world to me. It shows me that me putting out these videos, doing this deep-rooted research and creating all these different images is worth it. And so far it has been. So again, I just want to say I appreciate each of you tremendously for tuning in each and every week. All right, so without further ado, let's rock and roll. All right, belief systems and how they impact decision making. That is a fancy way of saying what are those predisposed factors that cause someone to choose a Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, right? Or North Face over Patagonia, whatever it is, right? So there are core beliefs, there are surface beliefs, and there are external influences that dictate and cause certain decision-making processes. Okay, so this is everything that we have in here. Is there's a reason that makes people tick and operate the way that they do. So without boring you, if you see all these different boxes and you're like, what the hell, I promise I will keep it short, concise, and there will be actionable takeaways for you to use on your very next sales call or in your marketing. Okay, so what dictates how people make decisions? Well, one, core beliefs. What are core beliefs? Well, it's what makes us who we are. We have values, we have an identity, and we have a view of the world. So your values, what are values? Well, values basically are what you find most important in your life. So if you're a father, there's a strong chance, not sure, but there's a strong chance that you value health, family, and financial security. If you're a 22-year-old bachelor who lives in downtown Miami, your values might look a little different, right? So it just depends on where you are in life and what you found to be most important. Maybe your values growing up were to be extremely successful. You're in med school, you're doing all the things like that would be your value is education and I suppose dedication to doing a very difficult career. Okay. So core values are things that you very strongly believe in. These are typically influenced somewhere in childhood. Okay. Identity. Now this one's important. I sell with a lot of identity frames and reframes because I feel like people make decisions as to who they think they are. Let me rephrase that. When we make a decision, the little voice in our head, whether it says this explicitly or not, is what would a person like me do in this situation? So don't care how you feel about the topic, or what is his name? Daniel Penny, the guy who choked the guy in the New York subway, right? We're getting controversial already. In that situation where a man was going crazy and making threats to those around him, Daniel, being a former Marine, said, what would a person like me do in this situation? Well, having had that background and that identity of a Marine, he chose to take action and do what he thought was right, which in that case was eliminating the threat and saving those around him. So an identity view helped him make that decision in that time. And there's much less severe situations, right? Like if you're prepping for a bodybuilding show and you're diced up and you're 2 weeks out from your show and someone offers you a donut, you might say, no, absolutely not. Because your identity is a bodybuilder who wants to do the very best that they can in that show. So your identity influenced your decision there. And then of course there is worldview. So these are just broad beliefs or assumptions that people hold about how the world works. So if you get what you pay for, right? That would be an example of a worldview. Or the rich prosper, the poor suffer type of thing. Like there's so many different worldviews that can dictate how someone goes about their daily life, right? How they think the world operates. Some people feel it's out of their control. And unfortunately, a lot of people operate that way, which my worldview is that that's simply not true. So let's go a little bit deeper, okay? So back over to values, what someone values, their health, family, financial security. Well, someone who values health is going to prioritize their well-being. Someone who values family is going to focus on long-term benefits, providing a beautiful home and financial security and all these different, maybe planning for college for their kids, taking them on the family vacation. Someone who values health, family, and financial security is going to operate in a different way than somebody who, again, the 21, 22-year-old bachelor who may have some disposable income that can go out and buy drinks on the weekend, while the dad or the mom is spending on putting into stocks, bonds, high yield savings, whatever they're doing. Okay, so values are going to dictate how you make decisions. When it comes to making a decision about your health, if you're someone who values being present for your kids and your family, you may opt in to get a personal trainer. If you're someone who values hard work and you feel like you can do it on your own, you might try it on your own and choose not to hire a personal trainer. Do you see how this is kind of coming full circle here? That's the point. Okay, so based on their values, you want to drive this home in the sales portion: living a healthier lives for themselves, their family, their children, or their spouse, being the best version of themselves in their career. If their career is like a core value for them, maybe you can lean into their belief system and their values on how getting fit or selling your solution is going to help them better in those areas that they believe strongly in. Okay, so we're leaning into what it is you sell into their core belief or their core values, and how it's actually going to impact them in a positive way. I hope that makes sense. Coming over here, identity, same concept. How can we lean into their identity, not push against it, but lean into it to help them make decisions as the person they either think they are or they want to be? So a health conscious person is going to, who engages in exercise and sports, is probably going to play intramural things and join like adult softball leagues and do that because they still view themselves as maybe an athlete that they used to be. Someone who's risk averse, it would probably prefer like super proven safe options, tons and tons of testimonials. So someone who views themselves as like a pretty cautious investor. They might say that they want to think it over for a day, or they might want to see social proof or speak to an existing client. So people who identify themselves as these things may make decisions in a certain way. So what we got to do is we got to lean into that. So we have to show how your solution fits into their identity. If their identity is an athlete, then you want to tailor your program to an athlete. If their identity is that they are risk averse and that they typically like proven safe options, you want to lean heavily into your referrals, your testimonials, and client case studies. Cautious investors who want to think it over for a day, you may have to reframe them. And yes, you are being cautious. You have been cautious up to this point. Yes or no? I know you've been doing this or thinking about this for a couple of years. Would you consider that being cautious? And then now you can start to reframe them into you've been cautious. Now, when do you kind of draw that line on like between being cautious and between, taking action? Right? And so you can again lean into how they view themselves, and you can challenge that too, like I just did. Okay. And then the worldview. So the worldview is again the broad assumptions that they have about how the world works. Again, you get what you pay for. Someone probably won't want like low cost options, or they'll think that low cost options are not worth it. Hard work is the only way to success could lead them to undervalue the fact that you make things so easy and so simple, because they're like, well, just counting macros seems a little too easy. I'm pretty sure I need to be doing 1,200 calories a day and exercising 3 times a day. Like, there's no way losing weight is that simple. And so people who have that worldview may think that you have like a gimmick or a quick fix, when in reality, it's just work smarter, not harder, which is also another worldview. Okay. So if they believe that working harder will get them there, you may have to reframe them and show them that work smarter, not harder is the approach here. Right? So when we talk about belief systems, core beliefs, these are things that make you who you are, your values, your identity, and how you see the world. Okay? So lean into these things. And I gave some common objections that they might give depending on what these individual aspects look like for them. Now we have surface beliefs. By the way, guys, I hope this isn't too boring. To me, this is extremely fun to kind of piece together what makes people tick, what makes people operate. And having the ability to do that now, when you hear certain answers to your questions on your sales calls, you can kind of put a name on that file in your brain and say, oh, okay, I see that's a worldview that I may have to challenge or overcome at some point. Maybe now is the time to do that, right? And if you can put a label on it, you can probably address it, okay? So now we have surface level beliefs. Price perception. it's too expensive. I can't get a gym membership or I can get a gym membership or a workout app for much less than, it costs to work with a trainer. Or why would I pay so much for a coach when I can get free workouts online or ChatGPT? Okay, so their perception of price is, why would I do that when I can do this? It's really a value issue, right? And so the underlying belief is that fitness services are often seen as a luxury. They're not a necessity. Maybe prospects believe that the results are only tied to effort and not to guidance or goals. So they might think, hey, I would do this if I would hire a trainer, but that's like what rich people do. I'll be honest. We have a maid service now, and all growing up, it was like, oh, that's only for rich people. That's only for like the most elite. And it's like, I wouldn't consider myself elite, but having a maid is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And so my price perception is that that's for someone else, not for me. Or I could just do it myself. I'll just do it on Sundays. And then I found that I was taking away from my precious time off on the weekends to clean. So now my price perception has shifted, and I see it as a very valuable component to my daily life. So just a little personal situation there where I had a price perception that wasn't necessarily true, now that I've actually dove in and made the, investment, right? So prospects may believe that results are only tied to effort, not guidance or goals. So it's kind of like that worldview, right? Where they think, if it's cheap, they won't get results, or if it's online, there's no way that you could help them online. That could be a different perception that they have. So what you have to lean into is value, cost effectiveness, uniqueness, and testimonials for these. Okay. So on your sales call, if they have a price perception that it's too expensive or that they could do other things for less, you have to lean into why you're cost effective, why you charge what you do, the uniqueness of it, the testimonials of your uniqueness, and how it works for certain individuals, and just overall value if they have a negative price perception. Okay. That's one service belief. The next one is quality. Okay, how do I know this is going to work for me? I'm sure you guys have all been asked this, right? Whether it's fitness that you do or anything else. What makes your program better than others? I get asked this constantly. And it's a valid question, and I love to answer it. If you hate answering this, then you haven't fully carved out why you're different, and that's an issue. It's not an issue that can't be fixed, but it is a core issue within your company if you can't immediately answer why your program is better than the other 9 million fitness coaches out there. And then others may say, I spent money on fitness programs before and they just didn't work. They didn't work for me. They didn't work for my friend. I've done this all in the past. I've tried everything, right? That's quality expectations. So the underlying belief with that is that high quality fitness programs should be in person, right? Maybe they think that in person is the only thing that will work for them because they've tried online in the past. Maybe quality is associated with credibility, expertise, and personalization. Maybe they don't want to work with a fitness coach who hasn't been a fitness coach for more or less than 10 years. So like they only want to work with someone who's the most experienced, right? Even though you may be more educated or more experienced on a certain topic. Or they have a fear of wasting money on another one size fits all. So how do you overcome this? Transparency, social proof, case studies, and personalization. So what I mean by transparency? Well, it's about talking about like, okay, well, why didn't that program work for you? And okay, let's be transparent. My program won't work for you if you don't do the work yourself. So like, how can we make sure that I create a program that's doable for you, right? I can create the best program in the world. It doesn't mean it'll work unless we're accountable and consistent, right? Social proof. So again, we want to lean heavily into social proof for these people with quality expectations because they want to know that someone very similar to their situation has been through and been successful in your program. Case studies kind of do the same thing there. So before and after pictures or case studies walking through how you did the changes and why. And then the personalization. It's a one-to-one custom approach. And that's why your clients do so much better than the, say, in person, because you're able to kind of be in their pocket around the clock as opposed to just 1, 2, 3 sessions a week, right? So lean into these things and that's how you'll overcome them. And then of course, past experiences. So this kind of piggybacks off of quality expectations, right? I've tried other programs. They didn't work for me. I've lost weight, but gained it all back. That's a prior experience. And I had a bad experience with someone who didn't listen to me. I just helped someone overcome this objection this week. So the underlying belief is if it didn't work now or before, it won't work now. Or all coaches are pushy. They don't understand what I'm going through. Or I just can never stick with programs. So why even bother? I always waste money. I never get there. Poor me. Wham, wham. That's a past experience. So they've had this past experience that has led them to feel very negative about how they feel about getting help. So what we want to do is acknowledge their past, what was missing that held them back from getting results or gaining the weight back, what caused them to gain the weight back, reframe them as learning experiences, relate to them on past investments. So I like to tell people, hey, listen, I did a similar thing. I invested into this coach, which I did, and I lost money. And I think part of it was my fault because of this, but also part of it was their fault because they didn't have like clear expectations. And being a coach now in 2020 vision, I can now see that. So I'm yawning, guys. I apologize. When we relate to them on past investments, it's like, hey, I've been through that too. It took me a while, kind of, messed me up in my headspace. I didn't want to waste more money, but it's like that sunk cost fallacy, right? If we accept that and we accept that that's the way it is, we'll always remain where we are. So it's not until we do something different or break through that fear barrier and invest again, get back into the game, get off the sideline, that I started to see better results. So for you, like, what do we need to do to get you past your past, right? All right, so we have core beliefs, what makes us human, surface beliefs, so like price, quality, and past experiences that have kind of happened to us as we've gotten older, and then external influences. So this one's really important, actually. So the three are marketing, social proof, and trends, okay? So when we think marketing, it's like, okay, how is the messaging from you, your competitors, or the industry as a whole shaping your prospects' expectations? So if they're seeing really crappy marketing that says lose 10 pounds in 30 days and they're being set all these unrealistic expectations, well, that's really hard to compete with, right? So it can make your offer seem less appealing, even though your offer is the most realistic, because others are being less than truthful, okay? And then overwhelming options can lead to decision paralysis or unrealistic expectations. So if 900 other fitness coaches, I deal with this as a mentor. Anytime I chat with someone on Facebook or Instagram, they're like, dude, you're the 900th coach to hit me up. It's like, all right, all good, man. I'm here to help if you need it. If you don't, sayonara. So that is like an external factor that's affecting my potential prospects' decisions, is because they're being overwhelmed with marketing. Okay, so the market can really dictate in a negative way what we're preaching and what we're doing, because they can group us with everyone else, and that's not so good. So that's where it's good to use terms like customized or science-based, or if we just use like vague, overly salesy language, it typically doesn't go so well. So the main thing you have to do here in a sea full of marketers is to differentiate yourself with kind of buzzwords against science-based, data-based, customized, one-to-one only, that sort of thing. Educate them on why you're different and why what you do gets tremendous results, and then leverage transparency and expertise. Like, hey, here's a client I was working with. To be fully transparent with you guys, they didn't do so well in the beginning. This phase wasn't so good. So what we actually had to do, like a regular coach would have just told them to push through. But what I did was I pulled back, adjusted, did this. It allowed her to get through it easier. Now we're here. So giving transparent case studies on things that didn't go perfect with the client, but still turned out well. Social proof, influencers, the influence of others' experiences, testimonials, reviews, endorsements. So basically it's just like there's influencers everywhere. They hear success stories. There's a lot out there with like before and after photos, direct referrals, and podcast articles. So there's just so many different things out there that can cause them to think one way or another about this or that. So what that looks like is, if we can do these things to our advantage, we can build trust, authority, and credibility. If we can be the people on those podcasts, if we can be the people showing some of those before and after pictures, but add in that transparency and the case study aspect, educate them. Don't just show a picture of someone losing weight, but talk about their struggles and how you help them lose weight to build that authority and credibility. So don't just do the pictures. And then last but not least, trends. So these are cultural or industry shifts that influence how people approach their fitness and health. Okay, you guys ever heard of this? Ozempic? That's a trend. Sustainability. Everyone's talking about sustainability. Everyone's talking about body positivity. Everyone's talking about being against quick fixes and crash courses. A lot of people are trending on this. So yes, it's good to be on the trend, but you still have to have a unique position on it. Okay. So if you're using tools like Ozempic, pairing them with a sustainable fitness plan, make sure that you are successful long-term without the dependency and the weight gain thereafter, right? Talking about sustainability, that avoid putting the weight back on, living guilt-free. Guilt-free is a huge one. No one talks about, not no one, but a lot of people don't talk about the guilt-free aspect of it, which I'm sure will become a trending topic soon. a body positivity. Now, I am not a fan of the body positivity movement, and from macro perspective, right? While it focuses on self-esteem and mental well-being, I think they're important. However, I think they overshadow physical and mental fitness or health rather, right? So I think a lot of people who focus heavily on body positivity also reject taking extra steps to get healthy because they think that they're perfect the way they are. So this is a quote. It's okay to love your body and want to improve at the same time. Wanting to feel better, move more easy, and have more energy doesn't mean you're rejecting yourself. It means you value yourself. So feel free to use that quote, my friends, because that is a very, very positive one. So these are the things that make people tick. That is the common objections you'll hear, and that is how you will lean into them to hopefully overcome those objections. Guys, as always, if this is helpful, like, share, subscribe, send to a friend. If you thought, and genuinely I'm looking for feedback here, if you thought this was so effing boring and for some reason stayed on to the very end, tell me. I would appreciate it, and let me know. I like feedback, so you guys can send in questions too. I've been getting some questions, kind of compiling them. I think I'm just going to do a big old Q&A on one of my podcasts soon, just of like all the questions that I've kind of racked up over the last couple of months in the DM. So if you guys have questions, they just may be featured on a podcast, so drop them in the comments or in the DMs. I hope you all have a wonderful day.